of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeart. Anywhere sound is found on the radio, on the internet, we are found around the internet making sound. Please share us with your friends. It is Tuesday. Tuesday, we put a spotlight on our hardworking friends up in Canada. I tell you, I am always amazed at the progress that the Canadians make in the world of hemp. And I'm always so sad to see the Americans dragging their feet, fighting to end prohibition. It makes no sense when we all realize the amount of jobs that can be created and the fantastic products that can be made from this fantastic plant. Right, Kelly?
100%. I'm with you. How you doing this morning?
Pretty groovy, I tell you. Every time I look up at Canada and see all those fantastic products being made out of hemp, it makes me wonder how many jobs were created in Canada just from this one plant alone. Any idea?
No idea, but you know what? We have somebody who might have an idea who's going to be on the show today.
Groovy, why don't you introduce them?
It's Anndrea Hermann. She's been on the show before, so our regular listeners will probably remember her. She's quite the hemp advocate, and I don't know. Are you there, Anndrea? Anndrea, sorry.
I am here. Yes, I am here. Kelly Casper, great to be back on the show. Thanks for all the hard work you all do. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, from the perspective of, new product development coming on, new processing facilities coming on, and, we're not even talking about, when these new processing facilities come on, they need to hire a whole staff to take care of essentially like quality control. So we're starting to see a tie-in to other food processing and being able to pull in the type of expertise that we need to put qualified persons in positions with these companies. And a lot of these companies are members of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. You can often go to their website and find out if maybe there's a job posting. So there's opportunities for people who are looking to get into the hemp industry to put themselves out there through these types of trade associations. So absolutely, we're seeing more hiring going on every day, from retail store to processing facilities, and then, building what's going on farm, because of course, producers and seed cleaning facilities, they also need to make sure they have staff. And part of the problem that we end up with is that since we're such a rurally based agricultural society here in Canada, is how do we get people encouraged to want to move to rural places to do this type of technical work? So it's an opportunity for people to experience a rural culture, and it's an opportunity for the hemp industry to pull in knowledge bases that are tying into other sectors, such as other food sectors or product development.
Cool. So lots going on. I got one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about was the CBD. As you know, CBD has been in the news a lot in recent history, helping a lot of medical patients, not necessarily the THC, which when you're talking hemp plants are ridiculously high in CBD and low in THC. So do you know if there's much happening in the Canadian and or American marketplace with, our producers now using that as it's another huge market for the hemp producers.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so what's happening is really happening straight in the eyes in the United States, straight in the eyes of the FDA. We know that they are watching what's happening. Fortunately, we have been able to continue in the U.S. principally underneath Section 7606 of the Farm Bill, which facilitates the research that needs to go on the state level. So they're still trying to sort out what does that mean with federal regulations and state regulations, and how do they come together, and what is considered to be of this sort of concept of a resin. So there's a whole nother sort of battle in the United States that's going on about access to CBDs and what does it mean when it pertains to moving that product within the U.S. Now, here in Canada, underneath our hemp regulations, we're 100% not allowed to work with any flowering parts or to extract in this matter to get cannabinoids. So that puts us in a very interesting position here from the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance perspective, where we are representing the industry in Canada and our members are farmers, and our members are saying, hey, look, if we're spitting this chaff out the back of the combine, and let's just make sure that we understand that not all industrial hemp is necessarily high in CBD. It can contain more CBD than THC, but what is exactly, when somebody says it's high in CBD, what does that mean? Is that 1%? Is that 2%? Or are we talking about growing a type of cannabis that happens to have a low THC level at 0.3%, which classifies it as industrial hemp, but has a very high other cannabinoid or phytocannabinoid profiling? So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of the regulatory review that the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance is underway right now. And if the listeners want to know more about what's going on with that, of course, hop over to hemptrade.ca. This is the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance's website. We've got our national conference coming up in November the 15th through the 17th in Saskatoon. And this is, of course, a very, very hot topic for the Canadian hemp industry. But one of the things that we're going to have to do if we want to get access to that type of plant material, whether or not it's going to feed into like a retail type of natural health products directorate, so it would go on the shelf next to like an echinacea or something of that sort, or is this something that's going to have to tie back in to the medical access programming that's happening right now, and everything that's happening in Canada under the scope of marijuana programming is also impacting the industrial hemp sector also. So right now in Canada, unless you are a medical access patient, legally we cannot extract from industrial hemp to create any kind of phytocannabinoid product, unless you have a research permit. And still that research permit doesn't allow you to take it to market. So this has become one of the prime directors for the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. We are now sitting at the table when it comes to the discussion that's happening around access to medical marijuana, because obviously if those regulations are going to impact our hemp industry, we want to know how can we participate in that. And maybe that's a fact where our industrial hemp farmers are feeding that feedstock into the medical access program. They're doing the extracting, or are we going to be looking at where we're going to have this kind of free for sale issue or free for sale opportunity come forward where farmers and companies can start doing extracting? And we've definitely seen the interest come in. We have some of our sponsors for our upcoming conference, of course, interested in how do we not only process this material, how do we work on the legislation, and how do we create a product that has the efficacy that we need to make sure that we're putting it on the shelf as a healthy product. So there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to phytocannabinoids, and we haven't even started hitting on things like terpenes. So the opportunity is huge, and it's really going to, in Canada, really see how the government plays it out and what regulatory change the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance members are going to have to fight for.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that maybe the door was a little more open already, but because I know that there's been a huge explosion in the marketplace for CBD and CBD products. I know there are retailers already selling CBD products. Of course, like you say, they're not approved. They're not anything. I don't really know where they're getting from, but they're also not illegal. What's illegal is the THC and not the CBD. So it's sort of that gray area thing again. And, there are so many requests, like through the seed company for seeds that are high in CBD. So So a lot of the companies have responded, the cannabis seed companies, and are breeding a little bit more CBD into their products, but they're still far from what people are requesting in terms of ratio of CBD to THC. They're looking for virtually no THC and high CBD. Well, that's just not possible in a regular cannabis plant. It's the opposite. And even when they're breeding in lower THC, higher CBD varieties, the ratio is still way too high for what people are looking for when they're trying to access CBD. And like you say, I know that hemp has, it's the opposite of most cannabis seeds on the market, where they are much higher in CBD than THC. So there has been
Yeah, you know what, Kelly, you bring up a really good point. A good tie-in point is all of the varieties of industrial hemp in Canada have to be registered underneath the Canadian Seed Growers Association. So there is a process that you have to go through to actually get those varieties on our list. And that falls underneath, our legal framework system. So if somebody wants to apply for a license and they have to state what variety they're growing, that variety has to be on that approved cultivar list. So then how do we get this plant breeding that's been going on to try to breed these types of varieties? How do we bring that into the system so that when we are able to, and I know this is going to change, when we are able to collect that material or grow industrial hemp plants that are for this application where we're growing for flowers only. And that's a big difference also, is how is this crop being grown to harvest what material you're looking off of. So now, we always used to say, and now we all kind of joke about it. We always used to say, oh, yeah, you can't put your marijuana plant in our hemp field. Well, now today, if you go to some places around the world where they're cultivating industrial hemp plants in a more mother plant, clone, greenhouse, or transplanting outdoors type of scenario, yeah, those plants can look really close to what a outdoor marijuana flower only plant would look like. So now we also have to shift that perception and say, what we used to say isn't the truth anymore. We now that can happen because of this row spacing and the techniques that are being used. And those techniques are being employed directly from, being educated by the professionals that were out there growing medical grade marijuana or cannabis, or however you want to say it in that sense. I always choose to say marijuana because I love my marijuana. So we got to make sure that, we keep it up there. But yeah, it's very interesting to how do we pull that into the legal system, and how do we get these types of varieties on these cultivar lists so that we can prepare for that and we can be there. But we've got this arbitrary THC level. And if you want to grow for a cannabinoid, why isn't the system designed to where there's a WHMIS catalog? And if we want to extract cannabinoid, if we want to grow a plant that happens to have high THC, but it's got another high cannabinoid, why can't we just extract that one cannabinoid or cannabinoids that we're looking for, and then everything else is classified as a waste?
Right. Nice. I like it. Let's get it out.
So how do we move into that position, growing a plant for the intent of what we need to get out of it versus, us only focusing on, this THC, which welcome to the THC. It's the perpetual thorn in the side.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's never been a thorn in my side, I can say. How about you, Casper?
Well,
no, it's never been a thorn in my side either.
Of how do we get around regulation? That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you find that the move towards, general cannabis legalization in Canada, is it affecting, are you seeing more of an increase in farmers being interested in maybe hemp or maybe even growing cannabis, of course, becoming a licensed producer or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen an increase in, the market's growing at over 20% a year. That's absolutely, we know that. We've got more processing facilities coming on, more farmers putting hemp into their crop rotation. I mean, around the globe, the demand for quality hemp foods is growing, and that's, something Canada has been prized for, is producing those quality hemp foods. And then we also see an increase in the desire on the fiber market. And that's coming from such things as, kind of cool 3D printing. We've got Dr. Chad Alvin coming up from North Dakota State University, talk about hemp plastics and hemp printing with hemp filaments, 3D printing with hemp filaments. And what does that look like? And we've got some pretty cool projects going to be presented at the CHTA. One is looking at drone technology. How can we use drone technology in the system of agriculture to improve our crop practices? Maybe this is being able to isolate, a weed spot in the field that you can go out and directly eradicate that area by plowing or whatever the technique is going to be. So we've got a lot to learn, and we've also got Dr. Steve Lovetto is going to be presenting the latest CBD research findings out of their projects here in Canada, all at the CHTA's conference this year. So there's definitely going to be a heavy presence of the battle for fighting for phytocannabinoids in Canada, and the CHTA and the members have decided that this is something that's important to us, and we want to participate in that.
Definitely. Well, that's awesome. I mean, as we all know, of course, with such a crazy, wonderful plant that we have here, and it's nice to see progress happening all around, not only in recreational cannabis use, but in more acres planted to hemp, and then more, like things like CBD from the hemp. And as we know, the sky's the limit here. We've got so much to do yet, but I guess legalization of different varieties of hemp seeds and cannabis seeds, and now with it being legal, the research is going to increase phenomenally, where it was all sort of held back before. Do you see Canada? I mean, I know that our hemp is very sought after as far as a quality product goes. Are you also trying to bring in some of these other varieties or get them pushed through, as opposed to just having a limited selection of hemp seeds?
Well, we on our cultivar list, I think we've got up to somewhere around 37 plus cultivars on that list. So there are quite a few cultivars that you could select from. Now, some of those haven't been grown in Canada for many years. Maybe those are European varieties from the initial list. So we do have quite a spectrum that is available. I do know that from within those breeding programs, obviously this has become a target for plant breeding programs. Also, they understand the limitations of the regulations, and we know that when we're, doing classical breeding, it can take up to 10 years to actually produce a variety so that it's stable and it can become on the list. So there's certain qualifications that have to come in there, but it's going to be necessary for us to know, no matter what cannabis we're buying, industrial hemp cannabis, marijuana cannabis, what we're getting, and that it's consistent from order 1 to order 17,000. We have to make sure that quality and consistency is there. And, we're seeing that through, the Canadian system that we have right now through the legal access program is trying to face those and do some standardizations. But also we're seeing this interesting shift here of, how with the regulation change, and are we going to be able to get the right to grow at home again? And it's going to be very interesting if we look at that and say, okay, well, Canada doesn't have, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, the marijuana program, there is no THC level that's classified as marijuana. No,
there is not. And they have been talking about having a limit on the amount of THC that is in a product. I don't know if they're going to get anywhere with that. I mean, there is with all the breeding that's gone on worldwide with marijuana seeds, there's just, a sickening amount, a plethora of different varieties out there that some are very high indica or very high sativa or a complete 50-50, or, the variety is so immense out there. You can pretty much choose exactly the percentage of THC as opposed to CBD that you'd like to have in the cannabis. So that's really helping the medical patient. And, they've been striving, of course, more THC, trying to get the THC as high as they can. And most recently I read the government was looking at trying to limit that to a maximum of 25% THC, which, again, I don't know if they can do that, but I guess they can. They can, once they decide what they're going to do. But I don't like the idea of having a limit on anything. If you have anything product you can buy, basically you can buy in a stronger form. If you like a mild chili or a hotter chili, they don't restrict the fact that you can buy something that's, right off the Scoville scale or at the top of the Scoville scale. You can just buy that in your grocery store and eat it. And I think that's probably more dangerous than a 28% THC cannabis reefer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, boy, I wouldn't want to get that chili powder in my eyes. I can tell you that much. Well, yeah, and there's some interesting reports. If people are, interested in, boning up on a couple of things, they can head over to the CHTA hemptrade.ca's website. They've released a really great grower's guide. It's a free download on the website. So if we're talking about, sort of this sort of traditional hemp farming that we're looking at right now, you can get the hemp production e-guide free download on the CHTA's website. In addition, there's been an interesting group come out. They're called Seed CX Limited, and they've just released some really great statistics. And this is based principally on what's going on in the U.S. They are pulling all kinds of international data in to this cultivating of basically a financial security. So they're looking at what's going on within the sector, and very interesting stats that they've just released. They're saying, like, in the United States, if we talk about, real growth of the industrial hemp industry, of course, if we want to supply the major car manufacturers of North America, we've got to make sure that they know that the risk has been diversified, and that risk has got to be diversified by increasing of cultivation areas and cultivation numbers. But it's just a great statistic. So from 2015. Now, granted, the Farm Bill just had come into play 2014, so we're just really, a couple of years into what's going on in the U.S. But in 2015, we had 6,700, a little over 6,700 registered acres. In 2016, we had over 16,000 registered acres in the United States. That's a 144% increase, according to the CDEX document. That's substantial. Now, they're saying, let's be conservative and say there was 8,000 acres planted in the U.S. A lot of those varieties, and this is one thing I just really love about the cannabis industry in general, is just the collaborative efforts of everybody. So the varieties that are being grown in lots of these state programs, some of them may have come from within the state, yes, but most of them have come out from outside sources. So that's Canadian seed breeders or European seed breeders supplying the starting planting seed to start doing some of these variety trials. And that's just been amazing for me. And it's a way to pay it forward because, of course, here in Canada, we didn't have registered varieties in the beginning. Our European colleagues provided them to us. We maintained them and took them forward. And now we have varieties that are Canadian bred. So we're going to see the same thing happen. So it's been a nice treat to be able to, pay that forward to, lots of people that have passed on since that time that fought to bring those genetics to Canada. And now the Canadian plant breeders can, help send them down south. And we've just been seeing amazing results from these variety trials. Well, look at this is an interesting one. In Colorado, they're saying over 1 million square feet of registered indoor grow space dedicated to industrial hemp.
Of indoor space.
Indoor space. And this changes the perspective of how we're looking at how we're cultivating industrial hemp. As I said, it's in this concept, maybe these are mother plants that have been clones taken off them and everything of that sort. It's not what we've viewed as the traditional way of cultivating industrial hemp with a seeder in the ground, and you plant the seed and you get males and females come out of the field. But if we want to grow for flowers, well, we don't get those from the males, so we've got to just keep those females. So it's a really great, shift of what's happening in the industry and how those cultivation practices. And, the starting question is that employment. And we've seen this with increase in acres. And I know from our colleagues in Washington State have told me that sometimes these facilities have had difficulties getting employees that want to live out in the rural area. Or there's housing issues, housing shortage issues, access to, the foods that people want to eat issues. So those things kind of start to come into play. And how do we address that? And that just means I feel that, cannabis also can help drive back rural development and bringing people back to towns that are almost ghost towns. And we've seen that with some of these medical programs here in Canada, is that some of these smaller towns that have been blessed with a medical cannabis facility now all of a sudden have, 100 people that are working there.
Yes. Awesome.
It is.
A tremendous opportunity is going to open up in this industry as we continue to move forward. Certainly for the farming community, more acres planted, and then as more acres are planted, then all of a sudden we need a facility to handle the all the products that can be made with it, and just turning it into usable stuff. The employment opportunities are going to be massive, and it's not just in the cannabis legalization, but I see more opportunity in the hemp because there's so much more we can do with hemp than we can with cannabis. I'm excited, and I think it's really needed. Certainly here in Alberta right now, we're certainly hurting on the employment front. We've seen the loss of tens of thousands of oil jobs, of course, and as we are very heavily tied into that, economic factor. And I believe Alberta is a great place to grow hemp. So, and there's lots of people sitting around here idle. Man, we could sure be producing so much more. But again, like you say, there continues to be more acres. I'm really shocked at the U.S. numbers. That's really quite an increase. And I don't know, Canada, are we increasing by the same kind of numbers, or?
Well, a lot of those numbers there are research numbers. I mean, a lot of those are trials. So, maybe the varieties didn't do so well. They didn't set seed. So even though the number's large, the number of acres that are actually sort of approved and the number of acres that get seeded, that's why the Seed CX group, they said, okay, well, we say it's about 16,000, but we really know it's probably about 8,000. Half of that probably actually happened. And, part of that is, the timing on when did these regulations come in place. Some of the regulations came in play in January or February. Well, by the time, our Health Canada office, we have 60 days before, if we submit to do an export permit, even before we get our export permit out of Canada, we got to get our DEA permit to import into the United States. And that takes time. It's actually been a fairly easy process. And I must say, the DEA agencies have really been on board in the process. Of course, there's been some banging head moments as everybody's learning their way. So thanks, DEA, since I know you're listening. We appreciate all your help out there, and keep on doing the good work on the side of helping us facilitate what we've got to do this importation in and out so that these varieties can come in. And that really adds legitimacy to that driver. And boy, I'll tell you, so many young farmers coming back to the farm. And that's what I love about this crop also, is seeing the youth coming back and saying, hey, you know what, I actually do want to farm. There's something that's exciting to me. And then seeing the elders come in and say, oh, I remember when we did this, or being able to come in now and mentor the young farmers that are coming back to these family farms, and just driving that diversity in the United States. And we're going to need that if we want industrial hemp, if we want hulled hemp in every single granola bar that's on the shelf as a standard product, just like a sunflower seed might be. we've got to have that risk diversification. If we want this to be in a standard Always Save brand cookie so that everybody can gain access to that healthy food, we're going to need to have that risk diversification. And, and then drive that with composites and building materials. And my goodness, we're keeping our farmers plenty busy.
Right. Well, we've sold hemp seeds and hemp oil for almost as long as we've been in business. And there was a time when we used to order it pretty regular, pretty much on a monthly basis. And I'll tell you now, we're selling very, very little of it. Not that that's a bad thing. What's happened is there's an explosion of hemp products available in the supermarket. I know in my own local supermarket, I'm very surprised to see it seems a lot more products have hemp in it, and a lot more just standard grocery stores are actually selling the hemp hearts or a whole part of the seed. So the cost is way down. Our cost, to our customers obviously is a little high. We're not really involved in that food industry, and it was something that we filled before there was so much product available. But yeah, our sales of hemp edible products have really tailed off. But that's not because people aren't consuming it. People are actually consuming more. But there is such a plethora now of products available on the market with hemp seeds on them. It's amazing. And I support them. I buy them. I try them. And since I love hemp, it's pretty hard not to enjoy the products that are being made from it. So it's growing immensely. I've seen it happen right in front of my eyes with my local grocery store.
Yeah, access is, and that's driving to more processing facilities. That's more acreage. That's also more consumers getting educated. And I think the pricing is becoming reasonable also to where it's not so expensive to purchase anymore because there's more on the marketplace. And that's been, very good. And you look about what's going on internationally with just so much product being also exported. It's good to see the Canadian base growing. And, even here in my rural community, I can go into, thankfully the superstore, it's 8 or 9 miles away. I still live in the country, but the superstore is pretty close, and I can go there and I can buy 3 or 4 different types of hemp products. Easy. And that's really good to see because it becomes in a place where the common person of Canada goes to shop. And it's not just, if I was out here in the rural country and I didn't have a natural store close to me, I would need to go to the superstore or to Walmart. So it's great to be able to go to where everybody can go and you can buy these types of products. And it's no longer where you have to make a special trip to the special store to buy this special food.
Exactly. Like you say, it's proven in the fact that our sales have gone down dramatically. People aren't, having to go to their local head shop to buy their hemp seeds. Now they can get it at their local grocery store.
Well, speaking of products, that's what we have to offer on our commercial breaks by our sponsors. And then we got a groovy tune to listen to about how fantastic marijuana is. And then when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Just gonna stand here and watch you burn one. That's alright, because I love the way it smells. Just gonna stand here and watch you get high. That's alright, because it should be legalized. Should be legalized.
I can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you when it feels right. I come back from work and wanna take a break from real life. My dreams didn't work out. I'm stuck here in the rat race. Going to work from 9 to 6 shouldn't be a disgrace, but not in this place, the United States, where we look up to Britney Spears instead of Bill Gates. What a disgrace. How did we get to this place where our culture developed really horrible taste? Who do we blame? I can give you plenty of names. I point my finger at them. I don't really care what they say. Look at the magazines, People, Us Weekly and Star, all those celebrities, but we don't even know who they are. That's because most of us are living lives as normal as hell. That's why we like to smoke and listen to the stories they tell. And if there's something wrong with that, then I don't want to be right. So puff up, pass and hand me the light.
Just gonna stand here and watch you blaze. Sour diesel, purple kush, blueberry haze. Just gonna stand here and watch you get high. That's alright, I think it should be legalized. Should be legalized. It should be legalized. Yeah.
Hey Congress, we need to get something straight. Don't pretend like you got way too many things on your plate. Our country's broke. You need to fix it today. The people voted for you. Start representing your state and regulate it, so we can end the debate and end the hating. No one should be so irate, because the money we make from taxes would really be great. The deficit would deflate. No need to incarcerate. Hey Congress, start using your heads. Not everyone who smokes weed is lazy with dreads. Sarah Palin, Clinton, even Obama have admitted to smoking it, so enough with the drama. Like prohibition in the 20s, this law is outdated. Weed is safer than booze, it's time to regulate it. And if you don't pay attention to me, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll start a revolution and then vote out your whole crew.
Just gonna stand here and watch you smoke. That's alright, I think I also have a toke. Just gonna stand here and watch you float through the sky. That's alright, I think it should be legalized. It should be legalized. It should be legalized. Yeah.
Adam Sandler, one of my biggest role models. If I'm gonna do a song on weed, I'll do it full throttle. Let's name some names, just like the Hanukkah song, but instead of Jewish people, these ones hit the bong. Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, those are obvious ones, but Martha Stewart and Oprah, let's start naming the big guns. Kimmel, Jon Stewart, even Stephen Colbert. Woody Harrelson smoked so much that he lost all his hair. Matt Damon, Clooney, Pitt, most of Ocean's 11. If Angelina smoked me out, I think I would be in heaven. Bill Maher, Jack Black, Tina Fey, Charlie Sheen, all four smoke green. So there's the media queen, Perez Hilton. We all know you smoke joints, I don't judge you for that, you get extra points. Halle Berry, Richard Branson, John Kerry, Al Gore. I'm not nearly done yet, I'm gonna name some more. Do you see how this list is ridiculous? The facts aren't conspicuous, my research is meticulous. They've all smoked and are supporters of weed. The list goes on and on, like Michael Phelps on Capacity, Sacha Baron Cohen, and Justin Timberlake, what they both have in common is that they like to get really big. Eminem, Megan Fox, Rihanna too. I know you smoke Natalie Portman, so this one's for you.
Not gonna waste time and just stand by. I'm gonna send this to my congressman tonight. Weed is American as apple pie, and now it's time for us to make it legalize. Make it legalize. Make it legalize.
Yes, that's what we are working for. Legalization all around the world. We want to end prohibition. It's nonsense. It's silly to say that this plant that is anchored in the ground by its roots is a danger to a human being, when we have found from research that the utilization of this plant, not only as a medicinal source, but as a nutritional source, helps us live longer. Isn't that right, Kelly?
Well, I'm hoping I live longer.
One thing you do to help people live longer and to have a better quality of life is to help them get better access to a vaporizer that might help them consume their medication in a more healthy fashion. Isn't that right?
We certainly do. As our regular listeners know, for several years now, KDK has had the pleasure of being able to give away a quality vaporizer. It's actually called the Herbal Air. Usually I don't mention it on here, but every once in a while I should put a plug in for them because they do also participate in the program with us. It's sort of a 50-50 deal between us and the manufacturer. And it's been probably a little over 3 years now, or maybe even 4 actually, that we've been giving away free vaporizers. And I know when people hear that, sometimes they're a little skeptical, but last week's show, I mentioned that we seem to be a little short on people taking advantage of our, free vaporizer offer. So I want to reiterate to the listeners out there that, this is a completely 100% free program. We literally send the product right to your door at absolutely no cost. We're looking for medical patients anywhere in the world. We have shipped to places like Israel and Australia and South America, certainly all over the United States and Canada and Europe. So wherever you are in the world and you happen to be listening, and you're a medical patient, in other words, a medical patient that uses cannabis in whatever form, whether it's CBD, THC, edibles, smokables, however you like to consume your medicine, we provide for free a quality vaporizer. It eliminates a lot of the carcinogens that are created by combustion. So it's a lot healthier for the medical patient. And a lot of the patients we find nowadays that are elderly, maybe they never smoked in their lives, and they find it quite not very appealing to smoke something. And of course, the smell in the house and that type of stuff. With the vaporizer, the smell is also much reduced. So it's a huge benefit, not only health-wise, smell-wise, but it's a bigger benefit to the pocketbook, because quality vaporizers like the Herbal Air are horrendously efficient. And honestly, patients report using anywhere from 50 to 70% less cannabis consumption once they receive a quality vaporizer. And they're not magical. It's just because when you do have combustion, the temperatures get so high, you lose some of the active ingredient you're trying to get. It actually burns away with everything else that's burning. Since there's no combustion with vaporization, you recover a higher percentage of the active ingredient, so you actually need to use less. So not only is it helpful in terms of the health aspect of consuming the cannabis, but it's much more helpful in terms of the pocketbook, which is the target area that we're after. We're after medical patients who use cannabis for any type of ailment, and they're on assisted income, no income, pension, disability, whatever the case may be. There's so many, there's just thousands upon thousands of these patients out there around the world that simply could never afford a quality vaporizer. And it's such a blessing in terms of the pocketbook. I really, really hope that after today's shows, we get a little spike in response to our program, because honestly, we do love to give them away. The medical patients that have received them in the past are very, very grateful because it is such a benefit and help to them on their pocketbook when they don't have a lot of income to deal with in the first place. So if you're listening and you are a medical patient who can't afford a quality vaporizer, or if you're listening, I have no doubt that you know somebody out there that could use a free vaporizer. Maybe you can make them aware of the program and help us out a little bit and get a few more vaporizers out to some needy medical patients around the world. Super simple. All you have to do is send me an email to Kelly, Kelly, at kdkwholesale.ca. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we want to hear from you. So please help spread the word.
And on behalf of the movement, Kelly, thank you to you and your team for making that possible. It is very important that people who are sick be able to consume their medication in a healthy manner so that they don't add more complications to whatever health problems they are facing. With that said, let's let you and our joint guest get back to our joint chat here on the joint program at Time for Hemp.
Anndrea, we were going to move into a seminar or something you were going to speak about next. Anndrea, are you there? Have we lost Anndrea?
I don't know. It looks like she's still there.
Okay.
Maybe she's on mute and doesn't know it. Anndrea.
Sorry about that, guys. Hi, everybody. I definitely was on mute because I didn't want anybody to hear my little bit of background noise as Kelly was sharing there about the vaporizer program. So absolutely, if you know somebody or you yourself, share that because, they aren't cheap and they are beneficial. So getting behind that 100%. Yeah, I just wanted to give everybody, a little update on the course at Oregon State University. So it is still being offered. It's called WSE 266 Industrial Hemp. This is a 10-week course led by myself and Dr. Seema Mangala from the University of Oregon State University. This year, I think we're going into having over 600 students now complete this course. This is a 3-credit-hour course, so you can take it from anywhere in the world, and you can have the credits transferred. So if you're going to university somewhere else and you need 3 credit hours, this is it's an online course. You can take it from anywhere in the world. You can be consuming whatever you want while you're taking it. It's all good. You can do it from the luxury of your own home or office. So it's 10 weeks. It goes everything from botany to nanotechnology. We talk about, from our good friend Dave Sieber, we got a segment on there talking about how to use hemp as a sealer and as a coating. We've got lectures on cannabinoids, building materials. Unfortunately, right now, the only thing that I can't speak about in the course is hemp agronomy, because right now in the state of Oregon, even though they have the legal access program plus industrial hemp, the campus does not allow for any instructor to teach on the cultivation of, in their rules, says marijuana. And unfortunately, since the Controlled Substance Act does not have a separate code for industrial hemp, and the word that they have to use as the common word for all of cannabis is marijuana, thus then my lecture that had now been taught to over 400 students I had to remove it. I did, of course, try to battle that. I went through the process of, academic freedom. I called the Association of Professors, and of course, great lawyer Courtney Moran, she stepped in to help out, and thankfully our good friend Paul Stanford helped to step in to help me with the financial responsibility of having that lawyer. And, it really, it took something away from me. I said, hey, no, and then I thought, I'm not going to give up just because they won't let me do this one thing. We're going to continue to educate people about industrial hemp. And so, in the syllabus, the students understand why this lecture had to be removed. But thankfully, so much is now out there on the web, and just like going over to the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance and getting that grower's guide, students can still go do the research they need to understand that. But yep, that's, it's a great course we do. I'm really proud of it. We've got a new lecturer coming on. Joy Beckerman is joining a long list of guest lecturers for that course. She's going to be giving the new lecture on the update of policy. That course starts at the end of September. So by the time the show airs, it'll be in. But if you want to get in by the time the show airs, I can always let students in later. But you can take it as a credit course, or you can just take it as an auditing, as an opportunity for extended education. So that's WSE 266 Industrial Hemp. And of course, if anybody wants to reach me, I'm Anndrea Hermann. And you can reach me over at Hemp Technologies or Hemp Production Services, or reach out to listen to my show on Time for Hemp. I must say it hasn't been recorded in a while. And Casper, I definitely do want to get back to doing at least one show a month. I think that would be good for me also, because it's super fun. And Casper does such a great job here. So, please not only support the work that Kelly's doing, but also support the Time for Hemp show.
Well, fantastic. We are still featuring you on our network. We're going through your old broadcast and editing out material that is still current today. And then we just mix it into our play throughout the course of the day and in with our music, so our audience still hears from you and your very many wonderful guests.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, you're a pleasure to have on the show. You always have lots to say. It's very interesting. I am personally very interested in the hemp industry. I think, with my use of hemp hearts, I think everybody should be eating them. I promote it as much as I can wherever I can, as well as cannabis, of course. I do like to consume cannabis as well. There's no doubt about that. But the uses of hemp are so many. We haven't even scratched the surface yet. And the more the people that we can educate about it, the better off the hemp industry is going to be. Just because people are going to want to search out some of these products that are safer, healthier, much more beneficial to our planet. Some of the great things from wood stains to plastics that we got coming out, and hopefully the guys. I don't know. We tried to have the guy on the show who is making automobiles with hemp. I don't know. I think he felt maybe we were a little too much cannabis related for him, and he's a more of a classifies himself, I guess, more as a legitimate business, and maybe didn't want to associate himself with a cannabis related radio show. It was unfortunate because I thought he would have a lot to say, to our audience, and our audience would be very interested in what he had to say. But, again, the growth in seeing products in my grocery store, and so many other products now that contain hemp and that are safer. I'm really big on this stain for wood, it being natural and not detrimental to the environment in any way, like a lot of the stains have been in the past. It's big. Onward and upward, and I think, as the years progress, we're only going to see more and more of these phenomenal products that are much more beneficial to our planet than anything else that we're doing currently. And it's awesome. So your knowledge in the hemp industry is much appreciated by me, and I'm sure a large portion of our audience. And of course, the great work you do.
Oh, thank you. I mean, absolutely. Every day I'm still learning, and it's such a nice gift to be able to come on the show and, keep getting it out there and getting it out of my head and out. And so other people can also engage me in keeping, my dreams coming true, because definitely coming up here has afforded me a a lot of opportunities to travel and to experience the hemp industry. This past year, I had the opportunity to go to Japan and participate in the Kyoto Hemp Forum. It was a great opportunity to learn a different way of cultivation and the history that's there, and how so many cultures and so many countries are looking to what's happening in Canada and Europe and the US so that they can start to shape their industry and what this looks like on a different kind of economy of scale. And that's so engaging as we start talking about how can we create small businesses, how can we keep people in rural communities, how can we keep families, mothers and fathers at home so that they can take care of their children and help facilitate their passion in the cannabis industry. And thankfully, shows like this and many of the shows that are on this network are an opportunity for people to learn about what's their passion in cannabis, and that's what's really important. People come to me and say, "Oh, Anndrea, I want to do exactly what you want to do. You do. I want to do it all. I want to grow it. I want to make a shirt. I want to make a house. I want to make biocomposites. I want to make food. I want to make extracts." Well, okay, maybe that's a very lofty dream. Can we do it? We can do all those things, but can every person do all those things? No. So I often tell people, let's take a step back. Let's talk about what you're really passionate about what this crop can do for you. And let's start to hone in on that so you don't get, lost in this plethora of things that we can do with cannabis, and really help people kind of hone in on what makes them really happy about this plant.
Well, one thing that makes me really happy is that we are broadcasting a lot of fantastic information here on the network. This hour has gone by so quick. It has been such an enjoyable chat today. This gives us an opportunity to put a spotlight on our favorite URLs, and we'll start with our joint guest today, Anndrea.
Yeah, so Anndrea Hermann here. Well, you know what I'll say right now, you can head on over to hemptrade.ca, check out what's going on with the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. My main hat lately has been with Hemp Production Services. You can check us out at hempproductionservices.com. It's a bulk hemp food manufacturer. Of course, my work over at Hemp Technologies, always with the building business. So those are the three principles. Hemp Industries Association. You can check me out at Oregon State University. Can't find me any of those ways. Just type my name in, Anndrea Hermann, through the Google zone, and you'll find me. And of course, all my supporters and everybody who's helped to educate me over the years, thanks so much. Casper, thanks so much for always inviting me back. And Kelly, the work that you all are doing, and have a great show coming up. And, we're just going to keep on hemping on.
Fantastic. And Kelly?
Yes. Again, for patients who could use a free vaporizer in their on their agenda, just send me an email, Kelly, K-L-L-Y, at kdkwholesale.ca, and hope to see you all at the upcoming Lift Expo in Vancouver, which will be very soon.
And I want to remind people we are a group now, working diligently to end prohibition. You can come to timeforhemp.com and tune in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and enjoy great content, great music, lots of free downloads to be found on the timeforhemp.com website. And we got editorial cartoons there and a free newsletter you can subscribe to. And as always, just like a good joint, we are best when you share us with your friends.
Yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us